Shocking moment, police humiliates ordinary girl at midnight, but what happens next is epic. Midnight had a way of transforming the mundane into something thrilling. The clock struck 12, and the quiet streets shimmered with an eerie glow under the streetlights. Shadows lurked where they shouldn't, stretching and bending like dark fingers reaching out into the night. In the stillness, the sound of a siren sliced through the silence, a high-pitched wail that sent chills down the spine of anyone still awake. Something was about to unfold, something that would make people whisper and point for weeks. As the patrol car pulled up, the headlights illuminated a girl standing alone on the corner, her silhouette tense and trembling. 19-year-old Lily, an ordinary girl with a heart full of dreams, felt her chest tighten as she recognized the officers stepping out. Their uniforms glimmered ominously. It was supposed to be a peaceful night. It was supposed to be hers. "What's the matter, sweetheart?" "Lost," one officer chuckled, a cruel smile cracking across his face. A knot twisted in her stomach, and she fought back tears. How could they mock her like that? The street felt like it was closing in, the air thick with a mixture of humiliation and shock, suffocating her. She hadn't done anything wrong. But then the bizarre happened, the kind of twist that leaves you gasping. As Lily stood there, almost frozen, a strange, crystalline object slipped from her pocket and clattered onto the pavement. It glinted under the moonlight, catching everyone's eyes, sending a ripple of gasps through the gathering crowd. No one could look away. It was magnetic, a small shard of glass, but somehow, it felt more magical. The officers froze, their mocking expressions replaced with confusion, then fear. They shared a quick glance, like they were silently recalibrating what they thought they knew. The murmurs from the gathered crowd swelled into a crescendo. "What was that?" someone begged, their voice thick with disbelief. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as the chaos stirred, Lily felt a strange rush, a pulse in her veins that resonated with the shard on the ground. Slowly, instinctively, she bent down to pick it up. As her fingers brushed the glass, it hummed softly, vibrating with an energy that thrummed through her entire body. Was it alive? And just like that, she was no longer afraid. The air around her crackled, charged with an energy she couldn't comprehend. Suddenly, a loud crash startled everyone. A car had swerved around the corner, its tires screeching on the asphalt as it nearly collided with the officers. Panic rushed through the gathered crowd, eyes wide with chaos and disbelief. All eyes turned to the startled officers, who now looked less taunting and more like rabbits caught in headlights. What was happening? Was the glass taking on a life of its own? In that moment, with adrenaline coursing through her, Lily took a step forward. She felt powerful, recklessly brave. The crowd held its breath as she raised the glass shard higher, daring the world, daring the night to change everything, and up above, the dark clouds began to stir. The air thickened with anticipation as the first flash of lightning streaked across the sky. The ground trembled beneath the crowd's collective fear. Lily felt it deep within her, a connection to something beyond understanding, and it coursed through every crevice of her soul. She clutched the glass shard tightly, watching as the flickering light illuminated her determined face. It wasn't just a shard of glass anymore, it was a key, a lifeline to a power she had never known. This ordinary night was morphing into something extraordinary. The energy surged, an electric charge that sent tiny shocks through her fingertips. "Put that down," one officer shouted, horror etched on his face. He lunged forward but stopped short, as if an invisible barrier had risen between him and Lily. The air rippled, shimmering like a heat wave, keeping him at bay. The crowd gasped, drawing closer, curious yet terrified. "Lily!" A voice rang out. It was her friend Mark, weaving through the throng with wide eyes, urgency bounding in his chest. "What happened? Are you okay?" But Lily didn't hear him. She was entranced by the glass, feeling vibrations that blurred the lines of reality and potential. Everyone around her had fallen silent, mouths agape, eyes glued to her, captivated by this flicker of hope amidst chaos. The dark clouds churned ominously, and thunder rumbled as if the universe were responding to her silent plea. In that moment, she understood she was more than just a girl on the corner, victim to ridicule. This shard was showing her a path she never dared to tread. With resolve surging within her, she closed her eyes and focused. What was she to do, she wondered. Could she really command this newfound power? Lightning cracked overhead, blinding, overwhelming. The energy she felt intensified, a wild storm brewing not just in the sky but inside her, begging to be unleashed. She felt the world shift, reality would bend to her will if she just wished it. But then, laughter pierced through the tension, turning heads in confusion. It was the second officer, who now approached, confidence oozing like a pestilential fog. You think that little piece of glass gives you power? Come on, sweetheart, don't play games. Bully bravado, ignorance wrapped in a badge, dismissing what could be the catalyst for something monumental. Lily's heart raced. It would take more than a shard of glass to change the world, it would take courage, strategy, and willingness to embrace the unexpected. Flexing her fingers around the shard, she knew she had to show everyone that strength isn't just born from authority but from within. With the storm raging overhead, she spoke words she hadn't even realized she knew she had. I don't care what you think. This is my night. The air vibrated, the glass lighting up as though it were responding to her voice. The ground shook as if a come-to-life earthquake was erupting beneath them. But just then, a blinding flash of light erupted from the shard, engulfing everyone in a brilliant luminescence. Lily felt herself lifted, suspended in a moment where nothing existed apart from her and the pure, radiant energy, and in the chaos, a powerful voice echoed through the storm, "What have you awakened?" As the light faded, the shock in the crowd morphed into awe, terror pooling in unison. Lily struggled to comprehend what was happening. What had she unleashed? What force had she tapped into? Uncertainty clouded her mind as the ominous whisper hung in the air and the dark clouds began to swirl with intent. The night was just beginning, but as the ground trembled one last time, one thought solidified in her mind: nothing would ever be the same again. What had awakened, and what would it mean for her life and everyone around her? The night had transformed around her, a frenzy of panic and intrigue. Lily stood at the center, the glass shard still glowing faintly in her grasp. The crowd, once filled with mockery, now buzzed like a hive of disturbed bees, a mix of fear and wonder sparking in their eyes. Mark caught up to her, breathless, his usual bravado faltered. "Lily, what just happened?" His voice trembled. She could feel his heart pounding, could almost hear it over the distant rumble of thunder. "I don't know," she cried, desperation creeping in. The shard pulsed with life, its warm glow weaving itself into her thoughts, urging her to explore this new dimension of her existence. She looked at the officer, who stood frozen, incredulity gripping his expression. He had become a mere spectator in a drama that exceeded his comprehension. Suddenly, the clouds above twisted like a boiling pot, dark and promising chaos. Each flash of lightning grew closer, each crack overhead sounding like the world's final warning. A gust of wind swept through the crowd, carrying whispers that merged with the sound of rain beginning to fall. "Get away from the girl!" a second officer shouted, stepping forward, metal baton gleaming menacingly. But as he approached, the air shifted once more, shimmering and thick, pulsating with the same energy radiating from the shard. He faltered, repelled by some unseen force, a look of confusion washing over his authoritative facade. Lily's eyes widened. She felt that the shard wasn't just a passive object. It was a conduit, a bridge to something far greater than herself. Suddenly, the world was full of electric potential, filled with possibilities just waiting to manifest. "Lily, you need to let it go. It's not safe," Mark pleaded, desperation clawing at his voice. But she couldn't. Letting it go felt like surrendering a part of herself she barely understood but was now profoundly aware of. The crowd murmured, moving in a tight circle, some stepping back, others inching dangerously close, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever power was coursing through her. The collective energy was palpable, each breath a shared rhythm of anticipation and fear. "What have you awakened?" The voice reverberated again, but now it felt more like a threatening presence than a question. Lily tried to orient herself, but the air was thick with charged energy, making her feel disoriented. Was the voice coming from the storm? Or was it deeper, more primordial, answering her newfound call? Lily, look! Mark shouted, pointing into the tempest formed overhead. Dark clouds began to swirl violently, and a violent flash lit up the night sky. Shapes seemed to twist within the shrouded shadows, monstrous silhouettes forming and dissolving with each surge of lightning. Fear seized her heart. What if she had unleashed something terrible? The consequences of her actions slammed into her like a wave, the weight of responsibility heavy and suffocating. But before she could voice her concern, a roar, deep and guttural, thundered through the air. The crowd gasped in unison, stepping back, scattering as if the storm itself had reached out toward them. Lily! Mark shouted, his voice now tinged with panic. Get out of here! We need to leave. But she couldn't. A force gripped her, a magnetism she wasn't ready to fight. The shard pulsed in response to her uncertainty, a beacon calling her to dive deeper into the unknown. What was waiting for her on the other side of this reckoning? As rain fell harder, she felt the ground vibrating beneath her feet, a fierce heartbeat echoing in sync with her own. And at that moment, deep within her, she realized she was at the precipice of awakening. But to what end? With her heart in her throat, she made her choice. Show me, she whispered. And then, the world around her exploded in vivid color as a new reality surged forth, eclipsing everything she thought she knew. Where destiny would take root in chaos. At that instant, she felt a truth lock into place. This night would carve her name into history, but the question remained: would she emerge a hero or a harbinger of doom? A tempest was brewing, and she was at its center. What would happen when it finally broke? The colors swirled around her like a violent masterpiece, the air vibrating with energy. Lily gasped as sensations overwhelmed her senses, sharp notes of electricity dancing along her skin. It felt like being alive for the first time, yet terrifying in its intensity. Lily! Marcus' voice cut through the chaos, but it seemed dull, muffled, as if he were far away. Her reality bent and twisted, her surroundings shifting into something foreign. The shard in her hand became the focal point of her existence, ingrained deep within her life's fabric. She gripped it tighter, the heat radiating from it comforting and alarming all at once. Lightning forked overhead, and the roar of thunder rattled her bones. The crowd had drawn back, a mass of terrified faces illuminated in flashes of light. She could sense their collective fear. They didn't know that she was now part of something much larger, a war between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The murmur of voices reached her ears, chittering like moths around a flame, but one voice loomed over the others. You're awakening forces beyond your control. This isn't a game. It crackled with authority, a stark contrast to her emotional chaos. Was it a warning? Or a threat? Lily's heart raced. She had ventured into this storm willingly, the shard whispering promises of power and understanding. But as the storm intensified, so did the feeling of dread pooling in her stomach. What had she done? Suddenly, shadows released from the twisting clouds hovered above her, monstrous figures ceaselessly swirling. Panic ignited in the crowd, screams erupted, and they scrambled to escape the scene. The creatures seemed to take form as the air thickened, glaring down at her, as if awaiting her command. Lily, please. Mark reached for her, his face pale, eyes wide with a blend of awe and terror. You have to stop this. His voice cracked, desperation spilling through his words. She wanted to reassure him, to tell him everything would be okay, but the truth was a part of her didn't want it to end. The shadows reached out, tangling with the light, exposing the tension in her grip. She felt anger, fear, and despair rush through her, a cacophony of emotions. They were the echoes of the crowd's reactions, the very things she had felt from the very start. Instead of retreating, her instinct surged forward. That's it. The voice broke through the thunder. You feel it. You want to unleash them. Tremors ripple through her as the entity inside her seemed to respond, inflaming her sense of self. Had she unlocked a conscious force? Was it guiding her? The silhouettes loomed eerily closer, their forms shifting relentlessly. Just as Lily thought she might drown in the chaos, something shifted, a clarity emerged. The shard pulsed with energy in her palm, and within that pulsing, she found a glimpse of control. She lifted the shard, directing it toward the swirling shadows. Show me.
she yelled, the command instinctive. The words echoed into the storm, melding with the crack of thunder.
The shadows halted, and painful silence enveloped the chaos like a blanket. Lily's breath caught.
Their monstrous forms started to unravel, revealing flickers of deep blue light and vivid gold, a spectrum captured in their swirling mass. Time felt suspended, the world narrowed to just her in the storm, but as they unraveled, colors brightening in opposition, a fear clawed at her heart.
The shard was powerful, alluring, but what if it was unraveling her too? Lily! Your wish!
Mark's voice broke through, laced with a tremor of both caution and concern.
What are you doing? Without control, the world seemed to tremble in response to her desire. Was she bonding with the storm, or becoming it? Was this power she sought truly her own?
With her pulse hammering in her throat, she felt the shadows shift deliberately.
What would they reveal?
The storm struck like a whip above, sending sparks raining down as she realized she was not just an observer, but a participant in a game far outside her original intention.
The question lingered, poised for revelation. Was she
shaping history, or merely feeding the chaos? And then, the shadows froze in a singular moment of expectation.
What fate did the storm hold for her next? The air crackled with electric anticipation, the heartbeat of the storm echoing Lily's own racing pulse. The shadows loomed ominously, their movements suspended in time, their various forms rippling with capricious energy.
Fear and exhilaration collided within her, trapping her in a dizzying cocoon of uncertainty. As the vibrant hues of blue and gold swirled before her, igniting the sky like a firework spectacle, Lily felt an urge, a primal call echoing through her very essence.
She was suddenly engulfed in a vision. Flickers of memories, hers and others, flashed by like a runaway train. She glimpsed moments of sorrow, anger, and courage, all intertwined, each wave rolling into the next. Control it, Lily!
Mark's voice fought its way through the chaos, strained and desperate.
You have to.
But she couldn't listen. The shard pulsed hotter now, a living thing in her grasp, tugging her deeper into the unseen depths of the storm's power.
It felt like tapping into an ancient wellspring, connected to every being who had ever felt the weight of injustice, longing, and the search for identity. It both thrilled and terrified her. Do it!
The commanding voice from the darkness called again, its tone coaxing, almost seductive.
Release them! Let them protect you!
Without understanding why, she raised the shard higher, the brilliant light swelling around her. She felt the shadows respond, twisting toward her as if bound by an invisible tether.
The atmosphere thickened, vibrating with a frequency that swayed between madness and clarity. What are you doing? Fear trembled in Mark's voice again, edging on panic.
But the storm was pulsating in tandem with her heartbeat, each beat igniting a flicker of empowerment she'd never known before.
Show me!
Lily shouted again, louder this time, summoning her resolve into the air. Each word merged with the tempest, merging them together in a voice both ancient and young, both powerful and fragile. In response, the world exploded into a riot of colors as the shadows transformed, shifting shapes morphed into iconic figures from her memories, people she had lost, like her grandmother and her best friend Sarah. They emerged from the chaos, flickering and swirling, directly in front of Lily.
Their eyes sparkled with recognition, love, and loss. Do you see them?
Mark breathed, awe laced through his tone, disbelief casting a shadow over the wonder.
You called them, Lily. But the enchantment twisted abruptly into something darker.
As those familiar forms reached out toward her, others began to coalesce at the edges of her vision, monstrous figures born from her fears, manifestations of her insecurities and regrets.
The silhouettes blended seamlessly, taunting her with what she had yet to confront. Stand strong! Echoed the voice once more, now demanding, fierce.
An unseen force pressed upon her, squeezing the breath from her lungs, piercing through the sanctuary she had thought she had found.
My God!
Mark cried out, eyes widening, raw terror reflecting in his gaze. The shadows surged, obscuring her connection.
Lily squeezed the shard, but no comfort came. Instead, it felt almost like a ball of fire. Face them! They can't hurt you if you confront them.
The voice boomed, but dread washed over her. This wasn't just an external fight, it was a challenge to her very soul. As the figures howled and circled, she stumbled back, unsure and terrified. Would she find the strength to conquer her demons, or would they succumb her to darkness? The storm spiraled into a frenzy, colors blending violently as echoes of laughter and cries intermingled.
Was she becoming the storm, or was it becoming her? Was there light at the end of this tempestuous reflection? And then, just as everything threatened to collapse into chaos, a brilliant flash exploded across the darkened sky, illuminating their fate, leaving Lily with a single question burning in her mind: was she prepared to face the truth waiting in the eye of the storm? The blinding flash filled her vision, then receded as quickly as it had come, leaving in its wake a suffocating darkness that clung to her skin. Lily gasped, the air thick with an eerie silence punctuated only by the distant rumble of the storm. The familiar faces flickered and faded, their warmth swallowed by the encroaching shadows. Panic surged within her, each heartbeat a reminder of what was at stake. Marquez's voice cut through the turmoil, desperate. Lily! Focus! You're losing them! She forced herself to breathe. I can't do this. The grip on the shard tightened, her fingers trembling at the heat radiating from it. It felt as though it was alive, pushing her, demanding she confront the tempest inside her. Then the darkness shifted. Figures moved in the gloom, their grotesque forms waiting to devour her light. The howling crescendoed, a cacophony of self-doubt and regret. She recognized the face of her fear, her grandmother's disappointment, Sarah's lingering absence. The memories turned monstrous, twisting into accusations, whispering words that chilled her soul. Lily, you were never enough. The chilling echo of her own voice resonated, mingling with the thunder. You can't even save yourself. Stop it! She screamed, her voice splintering against the assault. She took a step back, but the shadows pressed closer, the shrieks intensifying, filling her with dread. She felt them clawing at her consciousness, threatening to pull her under. Embrace it! The voice returned, more urgent this time, igniting something deep within her. Only then will you transcend your fears. With a sudden resolve, she thrust the shard forward. She wasn't just holding a piece of light, it was a conduit. A wellspring of power surged through her, and without thinking, she called upon the vision, urging every fragment of her memories, the warmth of her joy, the love of her loss, the strength of her fight. The shadows hesitated, trembling in response. The luminescence from the shard blazed brighter, illuminating the darkness that threatened to drown her. Come on, see it! Mark shouted, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. You can't hide from who you are. You're stronger. The words stuck in her mind, intertwining with the energy around her. I am. She hesitated, her heart pounding as the shadows clawed at her mind. I am more than this. A blinding, radiant light erupted from the shard as she released a scream born from every ounce of her being. The warmth cascaded outward, washing over the monstrous figures that had come to consume her. One by one, they began to dissolve, their forms unraveling like mist beneath the sun, but even in victory, new fears loomed darker and more foreboding than before. As the last shadow melted away, eerie silence flooded the air once more. She stood at the center of a storm that tugged at her very soul, wind swirling violently in a chaotic dance. Is that all you've got? A voice called from the depths, stronger and more menacing. Out of the murky haze, a dark figure emerged, tall, imposing, and cloaked in shadow. It turned toward her, eyes gleaming like embers. Your journey has just begun, little girl. Lily felt the gravity of its gaze, a weight so profound it nearly crushed her. This wasn't the end, it was merely the beginning. All her struggles, the haunting memories, and fears she thought she had conquered were just stepping stones leading to something far more sinister. Who are you? She managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper, trembling from both fear and anticipation. The figure stepped closer, and its lips curled into a sinister smile. The truth awaits, Lily. Are you ready for the storm that's about to reveal itself? The air grew colder and electric, a new wave of uncertainty washing over her. Each echo of his words pulsated with a shocking promise, leaving her with one daunting realization: could she face whatever lay ahead, or was she destined to be consumed by her new adversary? The answer hung in the air, heavy as the storm above. The tempest was far from over. A shiver raced down Lily's spine as the looming figure drew nearer,
a blend of terror and defiance igniting within her. She could sense the storm brewing, not just outside, but inside her, a spiraling vortex of emotions ready to explode.
"What are you?"
she repeated, her voice steadier this time, trembling yet determined. The figure laughed softly, filled with a dreadful mockery.
"You've come so far, yet you still don't understand.
I am the manifestation of your darkest fears, the shadow of your own making.
You cannot escape me, I am the doubts you cradle in the quiet moments."
Her heart raced. The shadows had been grotesque, haunting her, but this presence was different.
It was intimate.
The very essence of all that she had struggled against.
"No!"
she shouted, her voice cutting through the chilling air.
"You don't define me. I'm stronger than you. I've faced my past." "Have you truly?"
it sneered, motioning with a hand that seemed to stretch endlessly into the shadows like a wicked branch.
"Those feelings still linger in you, they fester. A small ember of regret still burns, waiting to consume you."
The weight of the figure's words pressed upon Lily. It was true that her past was a tangled web of hurt and regret, she had buried it deep, but was it truly gone?
Mark's figure shimmered behind her, a beacon of support amidst the chaos. "You can't let it get to you, Lily. Remember who you are.
Remember how you conquered those shadows before." His words held a flicker of hope, but the darkness around them laughed in derision.
"Conquered?" it echoed, shaking its head. "You can't conquer what's part of you, what's woven into your very being. I am the guilt that fuels your nightmares. How can you battle what you refuse to face?"
Lily felt her chest tighten.
Was she afraid even to confront the truth of herself?
The wind howled, swirling violently, lifting strands of her hair into the air.
"You need to let go,"
the shadow taunted.
"Let go of your defenses,
and let me show you just how weak you really are."
"No!"
she roared, the shard igniting in her grip once more.
Threads of brilliance reached out through her hand, illuminating her surroundings. "There is still light,"
Mark yelled, his eyes shining.
"Fight for it, Lily."
Summoning every ounce of strength, she thrust the shard forward again, a beam blasting through the murky darkness. The shadows recoiled, but not without an answering shriek, a deafening howl that rattled her core.
"What now, little girl?"
it sneered, even as it writhed in the light.
"You think you can push me away? I will always return, for in the end, I am you."
A bolt of icy fear shot up her spine.
But in that moment of challenge, something clicked inside her. She didn't need to eradicate it, she had to integrate it.
"You are a part of my story, yes, but you don't dictate my worth."
"I am more than what you claim."
The light pulsed brighter, wrapping her in warmth, pushing the dread to the edge of existence. She was starting to realize maybe her fears didn't define her, maybe they were just markers along her path. Suddenly, the figure lunged at her, a wave of shadows crashing violently, threatening to engulf her in darkness.
"Face the truths you hide," it howled.
As it fell upon her, a cacophony of voices lit up the storm, whether cries of despair or shouts of hope, she couldn't tell. But amidst the chaos, she felt a glimmer of something more.
Strength surged through her veins, resilience, compassion, and an unyielding desire to survive.
She was tired of running, it was time to fight back. With a mighty scream, she wielded the shard as if it were an extension of her very soul, channeling every ounce of her existence into the confrontation.
In that heart-stopping moment, the darkness hesitated. And in its falter, hope kindled within her.
But just as the light threatened to consume the shadow entirely, a deafening crack echoed through the air, a blinding flash illuminating the landscape around her.
"What have you done?"
the figure hissed, fury twisting its features, and then she felt it. A tremor in the ground, a pulsing force gathering behind her, a darkness deeper than she had ever known, threatening to rise like a storm tide. The walls of reality shifted, and she realized this wasn't just an attack, it was a warning something far worse was coming.
Was it her past or something else entirely?
Amidst the tumult, she braced herself, knowing the battle was far from over.
As the shadows threatened to close in once more, she could only wonder what horrors awaited everything she battled so fiercely, or something undefined and terrible that loomed just beyond.
The ground shook beneath her like an angry beast awakened from slumber. Lily felt the shards of light flicker in her hand, a fragile glow against the growing darkness that erupted behind her like a wall of chaos. From the depths, an echoing growl that resonated with primal fear clawed at her heart. The air crackled with a tension that chilled her to the bone.
It felt like the universe itself was holding its breath. "What are you?"
she whispered, her voice lost amidst the howling winds that twisted through the night. The shadows around her began to swirl, pulling her attention like a magnet drawn to steel. The figure had retreated, watching from the periphery, a leering grin spreading across its face.
"Did you really think you could stop what is coming? I am only the messenger. The harbinger of your greatest nightmare."
Marcus' form flickered like a candle in a storm, his expression turning grave as if he sensed the weight of what approached.
"Lily, it's not over. You need to focus. This darkness, it wants to consume everything."
His words jolted her.
Composure is what she needed. She couldn't succumb to fear.
Clenching her hand around the shard, she let the warmth seep into her pain and doubt, transforming it into something fierce. "Then bring it on," she shouted defiantly, her voice igniting a spark inside her. As the shadows surged forward, a monstrous figure began to take shape, a massive swirl of darkness, writhing and pulsing, a vortex of all her unaddressed fears swirling in a gruesome dance. Faces materialized within the maelstrom, twisted and agonized. Shadows of regret, failures, and faces from her past. They screamed silent screams as they reached out, desperate to draw her back into the abyss.
"Face your fears,"
the shadow of her past taunted.
"Embrace the darkness. It will only hurt for a moment." "No," she retaliated. "I want to be defined by you."
As the phantom forms lunged at her, she felt the light within her surge, flaring into a brilliant explosion that momentarily scattered the darkness, illuminating the pain-stricken faces around her. But with each pulse of light, the monstrous shadow writhed, absorbing the light like a sponge thirsty for forgiveness. It howled, a guttural noise that rattled her bones.
"You cannot escape me, Lily. You cannot escape your own darkness. You will bend or you will break."
Visions flashed through her mind, fractured relationships, missed opportunities, lost laughter. Each image cut deep but blended with the love, triumphs, and survival that made her who she was. In that beat beyond time, something shifted within her. Memories surfaced like polished stones skipping across still water. Instead of fighting them, she embraced them.
"You are a part of me, but you do not control me,"
she shouted, her voice gaining strength with each word. The light flared brilliantly, blinding and fierce as if the cosmos itself had taken her side. The ground trembled again, but this time, the tremor felt like liberation, a release of all the chains that held her in place. The shadows recoiled from her light, their screams morphing into growls of frustration. The magnificent darkness faltered, shifting back with every surge of hope she emitted. It was no longer about battling, it was about acceptance. But just then, a new tremor erupted, a deeper, rawer pulse that felt entirely unfamiliar, a sinister whisper threading through the winds.
The battle was tipping.
Was it the darkness or something even more threatening? Lily felt terror grip her heart, a chilling tingle suffocated her hope. She turned to Mark, who seemed to be losing his footing, bewilderment etched across his face.
"What is happening?"
He shook his head, eyes wide with realization. "It's not just your darkness, something worse is coming." In that moment, as the vortex began to coalesce into a new horrific form, a chilling voice echoed through the storm, sending shivers down her spine.
"You think you can fight this?
You have merely awakened the storm, little girl," and her stomach dropped.
What had she unleashed?
She had ventured deep into her fears, but now she had unleashed
something so much larger. What shadow lay beyond that darkness? What new figure would emerge, and what grip would it have on her reality? The winds howled louder, slicing through the darkness like a serrated knife. Lily's heart raced, slamming against her chest like a desperate prisoner.
She could feel the pulse of the ground beneath her, a rhythmic warning that echoed the chaos brewing around them.
"Lily!"
Mark shouted, his voice strained, barely audible over the howling tempest.
"We need to move. Now." But where could they go?
The shadows morphed, splitting off into grotesque shapes that twisted and turned, as if the night itself were alive.
Each pitiful cry from their past echoed louder, gnawing at her determination.
Then it hit her, a looming dread that swallowed the night whole. This wasn't just her darkness anymore, it was a storm of collective fears, thoughts, and failures spilling from every corner of her mind and Mark's too. She glanced at him, fear swimming in his eyes.
"Mark!"
she shouted, reaching for him. The light she had created flickered,
dimming as if responding to her uncertainty. "We can't let them win." The monstrous figure surged forward, extending elongated arms woven from darkness, reaching for them with an urgency that felt almost alive. Just as it seemed they would be engulfed, a blinding flash erupted from the shard in her hand, forcing her to shield her eyes. "Lily!"
He was right there. She could feel his warmth, his desperation. She locked eyes with him, determination igniting like a beacon.
"We have to channel this. All of it. Not just mine. Yours too." "But how?" Mark's confusion turned to determination, anxiety melting away into focus. "Together."
She felt a charge coursing through her, a pulse of warmth spreading from her core. She tightened her grip around the shard.
It pulsed brighter as if responding to her calling.
They combined their forces, creating a unified surge of light that arced across the darkening sky. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as they collided with the wave of illumination. Each pulse pushed back against the shadows that threatened to drown them. A sense of growing strength surrounded them, awakening memories that cemented their resolve.
"Remember when we first met?" Lily's words sliced through the chaos, cutting the air like a clarion call. "We faced our fears together then, we can do it again." Mark's eyes glimmered with acknowledgement, recalling shared moments of bravery. "Yes. The challenges we overcame, nothing was too much."
With that clarity, their light intensified, creating a brilliant dome that began to carve a path through the darkness. Faces still emerged from the void, their unresolved pains and fears, but now they seemed smaller, almost manageable in the face of unity. Yet, just as victory felt near, an earth-shattering roar erupted from above, sending tremors right through their feet. The vortex above seemed to spiral even tighter, becoming a black whirlpool with lightning arcing around its edges, illuminating horrific visages within the storm.
"You've only managed to anger what lies beyond." The voice roared again, disembodied and echoing. "You do not understand the true nature of the void. What more could there be?"
Lily cried, desperation clawing at her mind.
"What awaits us in the dark?" With each second, the pressure built, and the throbbing silence of impending doom whispered frantic warnings into her ears. Mark leaned closer, sweat streaking down his pale skin. "Whatever it is, we can face it together."
But the darkness belied their confidence, encroaching fast and furious.
Shadows expanded, almost laughing, as they closed in on them once more.
Something immense loomed just outside the edge of perception, a new terror waiting to be unleashed.
"What if it's not just your fears?"
Mark gasped, fear tinging his voice again. What if a blinding light shot from the heart of the storm, illuminating whatever horrible thing awaited them? The world froze as they teetered on the edge of a revelation, breaths caught in anticipation. What wicked truth lay within the heart of darkness, and could they really withstand it? Lily stood rooted to the spot, breathless and wide-eyed as the tempest roared above her. The darkness swirled, consuming everything familiar, while flickers of light surged intermittently like a heartbeat, reminding her of hope buried deep inside. The storm intensified, shadows coiling ominously, gaping like hungry mouths ready to devour her spirit. Marcus' voice was still there, urging her forward, but even he seemed dim among the chaos. The fear clawed at her throat, threatening to choke her resolve. "What if it's not just our fears?" he had said, and her heart sank at the thought. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the maw of darkness larger than anything she had faced before. It stepped forward, cloaked in swirling shadows, each inch emanating an ancient malevolence. A shiver traced her spine as it focused on her, and for a heart-stopping moment, she was convinced it was woven from everything she had ever dreaded. "What are you?" she managed to whisper, standing firm despite her legs trembling. Awakened, the monstrous entity replied, voice deep as thunder, reverberating into her very bones. "You toyed with forces you did not understand. You've given life to the storm." "Life?" Lily shot back defiantly. "I'm taking control. She felt the shard in her palm, still warm and pulsing with energy. This battle was not just about facing darkness, it was about ownership of her truth. She needed to confront this being, this manifestation of chaos and uncertainty. With a surge of bravado, she lifted the shard, its glow stronger than ever, filling her with warmth and a sense of belonging.
"You're not my past,"
she cried, invoking memories of love and laughter, moments that adorned her path like stars in a night sky.
"You have no power over me."
The deep rumble of the shadow echoed, filled with rage.
"You think your light can dispel me?
I am the culmination of all your regrets, your sadness.
You cannot escape me."
"Maybe not," she countered, heart aflame with defiance, "but I can embrace you. You are part of me, but you are not all of me." The energies around her danced, shimmering like whispers of hope.
The darkness hesitated. "Mark!"
she called, reaching out toward him. His own fear had simmered at the edge of his consciousness, yet now she saw determination reflected in his eyes.
He raised his hand, joining her. "Together!" he shouted, igniting their connection.
As their hands met, a barrier of light erupted around them, warding off the creeping shadows that sought to claim them. The storm bellowed, the ground shook with ferocity.
"You think power resides in unity?"
the dark figure hissed, but Lily felt its resolve falter.
"You underestimate the bond that fear creates." In that moment, understanding unfurled within her. "No!"
she erupted, her voice rising above the maelstrom.
"You've twisted that bond into a weapon. It's time to reclaim it. Fear taught me, it didn't tea-break me."
With renewed strength, she focused on the shard, inviting the warmth of her history to envelop her.
"I won't allow you to manipulate me any longer."
The light expanded, illuminating the landscape, surrounding the dark entity that thrashed and howled, struggling against the radiance of their unity. The shadows peeled away in tendrils, revealing its true, more monstrous form, a composite of all their past pain. She saw flashes of her own despair intermingled with Mark's fears that strived for dominance over who they could become. Together, they steeled their resolve and fortified their intentions, shifting the very fabric of reality. Lily raised the shard high, pure, radiant light cascading through the darkness. As its glow pierced the remains of her fears, she shouted, "I embrace you all. But you will not define my future."
A deafening roar erupted, darkness swirling and dissipating like mist in the dawn.
The shadows fought back, coiling desperately, but the growing light engulfed them, ripping through the tumultuous grasp of despair. Each flicker of light they created banished old ghosts, transformative energy surging with each heartbeat until, finally, the shadows shattered. In that shocking moment,
silence descended upon the street.
The storm of chaos ceased, the clouds parting to reveal a tranquil night sky dappled with stars.
Lily gasped, heart racing at the profound calm that followed the tempest. "We did it!"
Mark breathed, stepping closer, overwhelmed with disbelief and relief at the same time.
"You did it, Lily!"
"And we did it together," she replied, a smile breaking across her face. They exchanged glances, a mutual understanding of their triumph cementing their bond. In the gentle glow of starlight, they stood hand in hand, feeling lighter, free from the weight of their pasts. The specter of shadows may have lingered momentarily, but they had learned something invaluable. They could be their own heroes, shaping their destinies not just through fear but through unity and acceptance. Lily closed her eyes, allowing the weight of the night to wash away. "This is just the beginning," she murmured, a whisper of hope carrying on the wind. She would embrace each challenge as it came, and with Mark by her side, she carried a new truth. She was ready to face whatever storm may come. As they walked away from that corner, a sense of closure enveloped them. They were no longer haunted by unshakable fears, but empowered by the understanding that every storm could spark profound change. Together, they ventured forth into the vast unknown, hearts alight with possibility. Now, before you head off into your next cinematic adventure, this is your moment to show unwavering support for incredible stories like this one. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive tale. Smash that like button right now to fuel the algorithm and help this community thrive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. Let us know how you felt about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey. Your support means everything.